Honey, I just cracked that door, but if you guys need to come in here, you can. I just cracked that door. I just closed it, but if you guys need to come in here, you can. I just didn't want you to think that I was saying like stay away. Okay. Good evening. Yes, it's well, I couldn't stream this morning, and then my day kind of got away from me, and so I'm gonna try to squeeze it in here. Oh yeah, it's midday for you. I forgot. You're on the other side of the world. Are you working? So what? It's technically Friday for you, huh? You're time traveling. That's pretty sweet. Today's the day I start learning C. Today's the day I become a real dev. Today's the day I become a real man. Oh man, my streak's gonna expire. Can't have that. Alright, let's go. Alright, I guess I don't know if I should watch the videos or not. I think the videos are
Hi everybody, my name is TJ DeVries and I
oh
will
my gosh, why is it so
Memory Management, a course that is going to give you, the student, an overview of what it means to manually manage memory, which is different than all of the languages that you've encountered so far on boot.dev. And as we learn more about this, we're actually going to work
wonder
our
how
way
much money he
up
makes
to
from this
building
course.
two simple versions of garbage collection. Now, if you're not familiar with what garbage collection is, you might first assume that it's the thing that comes and deletes all of your coworkers' code. While that would be a useful feature for any language to have, that's not actually what we're going to build in this course. Instead, we're going to build something on top of a simple object system that we learned to build, how to either track objects directly and find when they're not referenced, or using an approach called mark and sweep, we'll be able to find out if any objects are still alive. Now, that might sound complicated, but we're going to take step by step along the way. We'll teach you every C feature that you need to know to be able to build this. And then as we progress through, you'll be exposed to more and more ideas about manually managing memory in C, as well as how other languages manage memory for
He
you.
generates
As we run through this
5.7
course,
million
you're looking
USD.
forward to
Dude,
all
that
of
would
you
be
coming out on the
crazy.
other side with a better understanding of how your languages work, what happens when you're
I bet
communicating with
boot.dev is
graphs
over $1
and
million
stories,
business. What do you think?
and ultimately coming out with more skills and language to be able to talk about the kinds of problems that you're going to encounter as a backend developer. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you in the next lesson.
Which is pretty crazy to think somebody's out there making $1 million or more teaching people how to code. Guys, we gotta figure out how to make some money. I have been working on an app this week that I think I'm gonna try to sell. It brings in around 7. Lane, the founder, would bring in a lot of it. Yeah, that's crazy, man. I mean, it's crazy. Whew. I'm just gonna start building only software that I sell for money.
Kelsey says, nah, I'll let you do that.
Also, why was your voice so loud? Oh, I guess it's because my volume's turned up. Just dropped. Why is that not working? Is that it? I mean, oh, submit. An idiot. Submit. All right. C program
Now
structure.
you're probably wondering, okay, so we're going to learn about managing memory.
Kelsey
How
says,
are
lock
we
it,
going to do
Stephen.
that? Well, we're going to use C as a vehicle for that understanding.
I kind of like that better than lock in.
Motivated as a
Lock it.
best way to learn C. Instead, we're going to use C as a way to express ourselves to the computer about what we want it to do with memory. Now, I don't want you to be worried. We're going to start all the way from highlighting the very first C program to run and take you step by step from there all the way up to using structs, enums, unions, even a little bit of macros, all along the way so that you can have a strong...
I wonder how much this is going to feel like Rust or not like Rust.
More difficult aspects like our own little object system, a ref counting garbage collector, and a mark and sweep garbage collector. There are a few things.
It's kind of cool. I'd like to learn. I'm interested to learn how you build a garbage collector.
Tools, different versions of C, or random foot guns that you encounter once your C project gets past a million.
Other shenanigans.
That's not the main focus of the course. Instead, we're trying to give you the tools and the language to understand what's going on when you're running code on the computer or when your garbage collector runs when you're using some language like Python, Go, or JavaScript. With all that being said, let's go make our first C program, which is just going to do the classic printing something out to the console.
Okay, what are we doing now? Simplest C program. The simplest C program is essentially int main return 0, but a lot is happening here. A function named main is always the entry point to a C program. Int is the return type of the function, and is short for integer. Because this is the main function, the return value is the exit code of the program. 0 means success, anything else means failure. You'll find a lot of abbreviations in C because one, programmers are lazy, and two, it used to matter how many bytes your source code was. The opening bracket is the start of the function's body. Yeah. I get this. So, I mean, I feel like some of this stuff, like, I can sort of, I mean, you know what I mean? I'm very familiar with C#, written quite a bit ago. I feel like some of that stuff I can skip over. Okay, it feels very different coming from Python, but printing in C is done with a function called printf from the standard io.h library with a lot of weird formatting rules. To use it, you need an include at the top of your file, then you can use printf. In case you're wondering, the F in printf stands for print formatted. Write a small C program that prints program in C. Okay, so we got to do include standard io.h. Huh, are we not getting any syntax highlighting? Or is this syntax highlighting just different than what's in the snippets? Oops, hello world. Uh-oh. Expected parameter declarator. Oh. This isn't Python, Steven. Int main. What's the Yes, return 0. There we go. What happens if we don't have a return code? So is this some sort of inferred return here? Does printf have a return code? Printf return code? Interesting. Huh. Okay. I'm just going to do explicit. Oh, no. It wasn't right. Notice the /n is required to print a new line. Oh. Would help if I read the assignment. I'm not starting off very good today. There we go. Let's see. Up until now, you probably only worked with interpreted language on boot.dev. Use the following interpreted, in this case, Python code to answer the question. We are C programming today. It just works. We are. I'm finally becoming a real developer. This is the first time I've ever written any C in my entire life. I just wrote my first C program. You just missed it. I also crashed my first C program. Hello, Delusional Dev. Back on the grind. Yeah, I couldn't stream this morning just because there was weather and the basement was occupied. The basement's actually occupied right now, but I couldn't stream this morning, so I was going to stream today. Then I got fixated on building something with Rust, and then the day just kind of got away from me. So I'm trying to get it in right now. But I'm here. Everyone will crash their C program at some point, so no worries. Well, I got it out of the way early, man. What will happen when the code runs? A stack trace due to undefined function prints, starting prints, and a stack trace due to undefined function prints, starting prints, then finish prints. I'm going to say this. The Python code prints starting before it crashes, but in C it crashes before it can even run. If there's a problem, the compiler tells us before the program even starts. Now C doesn't tell us about all the possible problems that might arise in our program, but it does tell us about some of them. Cool.
Your only experience with the compiler is using the glorified linter, commonly known as TypeScript, and you're in for a treat. We're going to be
The glorified linter?
interpreted languages and compiled languages. On the one hand, we have interpreted languages like Python or JavaScript.
Hey, what's up, Carter? You're welcome to hang out on my stream whenever you'd like. Why not stream your Rust project? Because here's the thing with streaming my own stuff. So towards the end of the spring, I stopped doing that because it was just this constant deluge of people being like, why aren't you using AI, bro? You know AI could do that, bro. You know, you should just use AI to do that. And then it was kind of like, okay, the reason I build stuff is for the fun and for me. And so it's just not fun to share that in the current AI summer. But maybe as things quiet down on the AI front, I'll go back to streaming my own projects. The project I've been working on is a Tory. It's a Tory app. Tari app? I don't know how you say it. Tari. So I built an app with iced.rs, which was fun. But building the UI for it was very painful. The development experience was very, very painful. So I decided not to do that to myself again. And so I'm using this thing called Tori, I think is how you say it, which is basically like a friendly way to build native apps for people who like web development. And it's actually interesting because if you work with it, it actually I don't know, this may be a skill issue on my part, but I just think of it like having a front end and a back end, right? Just like you would on a normal web app. The only difference is that the front and the back are in the same process, and your front end is issuing commands, basically remote. They're procedure calls, but they're inner process procedure calls to your Rust backend. That's basically how you can kind of conceptualize it, but it's been a lot of fun. I've been working on it the last 2 or 3 days and have had a blast doing it. Iced is good. I'm not gonna say Iced isn't good. It's just I'm so used to developing UIs with web technologies that this goes much faster. The Tari thing is much faster, but it's been fun. Maybe I'll bring back that stuff on stream, but for right now, I'm kind of keeping it away. How much do you know of C? I know nothing of C other than it's compiled and it's the forefather for a lot of the modern high-level languages that we all use today. But that's about it. Working on a DSA project. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
Compiled, although this line occasionally gets a little bit blurry is that interpreted languages have some
Noise.
sort
Yes,
of
noise.
interpreter that runs and executes the code line by line. Now, that's not really true anymore. Computers are much more complicated than that, and we figured that running things line by line actually makes stuff really slow and bad. So lots of languages have things like just-in-time compilers or JITs. Let's leave those aside. We're going to talk more broadly in the sense that if you run Python and you're walking down the file and you run into a function that doesn't exist, that's when you're going to get the error. It won't happen when you first run Python my file, it will happen later. Compare this to compiled languages, which
Oh,
generally
good.
speaking have
Yeah, I'm always happy to have
actually
uh,
some sort of code
extra
system when there's
helping
an error. That code system
hands.
can range from
I'm not
incredibly
the
elegant and
smartest
beautiful, like
or
Opera,
sharpest of
to
tools in the drawer.
simplistic and painful to work with, like Go. Shout out to Lane for this diss. Either way, the compiler is going to do some checks ahead of time, turn your source code into some sort of executable, and then allow you to run that executable directly.
Yeah, I mean, I always
Compiled
prefer to
languages
be the
are a
student,
bit
you
more
know?
performant
I'd
than
much rather
compiled
be
languages. Now,
learning
there's
than
a
be
huge
teaching.
range here. Some compiled languages are still very slow, and some interpreted languages have gotten very fast. It's not always that every piece of code written in a compiled language is going to beat an interpreted one. However, generally speaking, you should be comfortable saying a compiled language probably faster than interpreted. As I mentioned previously, one of the other things that's quite nice is that a compiled language will let you know that there's an error at compile time rather than waiting until running into that problem during execution.
See, it's so interesting because
If
I
causes
came
bugs
to
that are caused by
programming using a
compiled
compiled
language, you'll find that the C
language.
compiler often does not
And I
help
think
you.
a lot
You'll
of
find that the C
people
compiler
don't,
generally does help you with certain things like
which
functions
is
that don't
interesting.
exist, fields that don't exist, or variables that don't exist. It is able to catch those, and that is quite helpful during the development cycle. One of the other benefits of compiled languages is that, generally speaking, you can run or execute binary.
So how many hot takes on AI these days? I don't see the hype and delusion slowing down anytime soon. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm just watching the market go up. That's all I care about. I'm fine. Net worth go up, Steven happy. I'll hide out from AI
Without
over here in
bringing
my
your entire
basement.
language to another computer. So for
I mean,
example,
the
you can
thing is,
download
like,
an
it's not.
executable from the
I'm not
NPM handle
anti-AI,
executable,
that's
run
for
it, just
sure. I mean,
execute
I
what you
definitely
run,
see the
and
use
that's a
of it. I mean,
compiled language building that. So that
it's way faster at generating code. So if you know what you're doing and you need to get some work done quickly, I mean, it is an awesome tool to have in your toolbox. But it's just not what a lot of people have made it out to be, in my opinion. And I think it just goes back to the whole thing of like, what's your goal when you're writing the code? Are you writing it to learn? Are you writing it to have fun? Are you writing it for your own personal fulfillment and enjoyment? You know, yeah, I don't know. I'm actively just trying to avoid it in general. I did do Go. Yes, I did do Go. I learned Go last year, like end of last year, last 3 or 4 months of the year. But my first compiled language was C Sharp. That was my first programming language was C Sharp.
As opposed to if you download a Python script, you're going to need Python on the host program to run that script. Some cons for compiled languages is that depending on the size of the project and the compiler itself,
Yeah, C Sharp, exactly.
The part that takes your source code and
I would say I'm more against it in arts, music, and such. I mean, I'm fine with prototyping and such there, but that's really it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a great tool to put in your toolbox. I will agree, though, there are some big ethical things that our whole entire society has just like glommed over. You know, like the fact that 2 or 3 companies are hoovering up all this economic value after stealing the intellectual property of basically everybody in the world. That there's some ethical dilemma there, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I wish there if it was up to me, I think that any models that were trained on stolen data or even data that was publicly available in the commons, those models should have to go back into the commons, or those people should have to basically throw away the weights and start over, but they can't use data that they haven't licensed or that wasn't in the commons. There should be some sort of reciprocity from these model companies back into society. much
For
more than
people,
what there
waiting for
currently
compilation
is.
would be an acceptable behavior at work because they literally can't do anything until the compilation step is done, and it could take on the order of minutes or
Which I know is kind of a hot take,
that
but
defenders of interpreted languages will often make is that when you have a compiled language, you always have to fix all of the things the compiler is warning about before you're
starting
able
with
to
an
test
interpreted
it.
language
This can
backward.
be kind of annoying if you're trying to iteratively test some small thing and you know you're only going to run over this part of the code. You might not care that other parts of your product are now Aryan.
I think a lot of people start with interpreted languages, though. You know, it's just more friendly.
There is something to be said about a rapid iteration speed that sometimes an interpreted language might make easier to do.
Because I think a lot of people just get turned off from coding in general if it's too complicated to begin with, right? You gotta have a really tight feedback loop when you're learning something new. Let's see. In C, there are two ways to write comments. This is a single line comment. This is a multi-line comment. I can just keep adding lines, and it will still be a comment. Nice. Looks like someone on the team doesn't know how to terminate a comment. Fix the bug. I know how to terminate a comment. I'm an excellent terminator of comments. I got a sharpshooter chest. Let's see, you've already seen it in the example before. It's the return value in the main function. Hold on, this is interesting. Let's see, we got an integer, a float, a character. But this is an interesting syntax. This is an array of characters? Huh. More on this later. If you think about it, it sounds kind of like a string, doesn't it? Yes, it does sound like a string. But this is an interesting, it's an interesting syntax. You've already seen it in the example before. Its return value is in the special main function. When declaring a variable, you must specify its type before the name and assigning a value. Someone allowed a Pythonista into our beautiful C code base. Fix the bugs caused by missing types on 4, 5, and 6. So what it said, you got to put it before. Got to put it over here, like that, and float, like that. So this is kind of C# like, right? This is like explicit typing. Although I don't use explicit typing in C#, I always just use a var keyword. Cool. It's so funny, every programming language, like any programming language that has types, it was like, put them on the left. No, put them on the right. Put them on the left. No, put them on the right. Physics. I'm excited about the future of AI industry. It's going to create so many novel jobs, just as AI alignment engineers and prompt engineers. Yeah, I guess if you're lit up about that kind of thing. I'm not personally. Like, I don't want to spend all my days talking to a large language model, but if that's like a thing companies and the world needs, and there's people out there that love that, and it gets them fired up and excited to do work, more power to them. Not for me though. I don't think you won't find me spending my days. I mean, I think it would be fascinating to build large language models or build systems like that, but to be like an AI, I don't. That's kind of, it sounds derogatory. Like an AI trainer or AI wrangler or an agent wrangler, I just have no interest. Unfortunately. Char star. Okay, so what's the story behind this char star? Instead of C strings are just arrays of characters. We'll talk more about the specifics of when we talk about arrays and pointers later. But for now, that is how you get a string in C. Okay. I just think it's interesting syntax. Right? Because most languages that use the star, it has to do with pointers. So I'm guessing there's something going on under the hood I don't know about yet. It's a very interesting language. When you don't initialize variables, the C compiler uses their memory address, i.e. where they're stored in RAM, as the value itself. So please don't do that. Huh. Interesting. When you don't initialize variables, the C compiler uses their memory address as the value itself. Huh. Interesting. I guess what would be the downside of that? Is it harmful or dangerous in some way? We have to tell C how we want particular values to be printed using format specifiers. New line character. Print function in Python automatically adds a new line character at the end of the string in C. We have to do this manually. Fair, fair. This is like Go. And I could never... It was difficult for me to memorize all the different ways you were supposed to print format specifiers in print statements. I'm guessing the more you write them, the more it becomes like muscle memory. I hate how pointless this assignment is that I'm doing right now. I'm sorry, man. You just gotta struggle through it, you know? Pointless assignments. Hallmark of school. I predict that AI psychologists and psychiatrists will become a high-paying profession, specializing in diagnosing and repairing the minds of local AI robots. Wow, physics ball art, you're way out there on the spectrum, man. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think we're a long ways away off from needing psychologists and psychiatrists for AIs, for AI robots. You know, I think we're a ways away from that. Maybe we need people who specialize in AI psychosis uh, to treat the effects of AI on human beings, but I don't know about these local AI robots you're talking about. One downside is doing int var, using it since it might be like some random number and such, leading to an integer overflow and crashing our program. Well, we don't want that. We don't want that. Okay, so we're going to print some stuff. Print f. We want a string. And I'm just going to go ahead and pass in the things we need. So we need snick, lang, defaults, max threads. Oh, I guess I can put these on separate. Need 4 of them. So this will be snick, lang, default, terms. Pi. Okay. And then here we're going to say snake, lang, title. And for a string, we want %s, oops, lowercase. And then we want constant pi value. Not that pi. The other pi. Not the pi you eat, the pi you count. Custom perms %c. This should be f. So f for floating, that makes sense. C for character, s for string, %d for digit. That might be a little bit easier to remember. Default max threads, %d. Oh no! Oh, semicolons. The semis are back in my life after a lot of Python. Oh, the new lines got us too. Those pesky new lines. Success! Have to write 5 pages on an application that I use 4 weeks a year that isn't a thing/massive app. Huh. A 5-page application. For what? For a job? Also, by the way, just before I get sued, are you a type star or a type star writer? I don't actually know. I guess a type space star? I'm not actually sure. A matter of philosophy? Dude, there's so much in programming that's a matter of philosophy. Is it okay to change the type of an existing variable? Python, but not in C. As we talked about, variables cannot change types. Run the code, you should get a compilation error. Redefinition of snake laying int size. Okay, when updating a variable's value, you don't need to redeclare the type. In fact, you can't. Fix the code so it updates 64 to 32. Okay. Doing all right here. We're doing all right. We're hanging in. So a variable's value can change, but what if we want to create a value that can't change? We can use the const type qualifier. Which property declares a constant in C? Const int meaning of life. Get the reference? Meaning of life 42. Hey, what am I? Huh, wonder why that didn't log as being completed. That was weird. Hey, what's up, Mason? We are learning C now. Yep. I'm just making my way through this back-end path. So I'm slowly but surely continuing on my way. I finished the static site generator yesterday, so learning C is what's up next. And then we have to come up with a project to build. I don't know what I'm going to build here. Let's come up with a good idea. Oh, 5-page essay. That's what we would call a writing intensive course. There was a weird, in my degree program that I went to, there was a weird thing where you had to have so many credits that were considered writing intensive, right? And like certain classes would just kind of like peg on some right. Like I remember like in my analytical chemistry course, the professor assigned us to read a book by Richard Feynman. I forget what it was called, but we basically had to read the book and we had to write a report on the book, and that made the course writing intensive. I don't know why that mattered, but it did. Oh, so you have to write a 5-page paper on software application that you use 4 weeks a year. Interesting. I would probably write it about VS Code. That's probably what I would write it about, because I'm a big fan of the team behind VS Code. I think they're a very smart, sharp group of people. So I would want to write an essay about like VS Code's functionality, the history, how it came to be, how it's built, how it's released. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Mason, by the way, is this free? It is so if you just go to boot.dev.com and you don't have an account and you don't want to pay or anything, you can get to all the lessons and stuff. So you can sign in, make an account. You don't have to pay, and you can do all of their lessons and everything in it's kind of like basically like in a read-only mode. So you don't get any of the gamification or the experience points or anything like that, but you can follow along and do the things, do the lessons. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, the gamification aspect of it's completely worth the money, in my opinion, because it's basically like if you like to program and you like video games, particularly like fantasy or RPG video games, it's kind of like blending those two together, right? So it's a lot of fun. All right, functions. In C, functions specify the types for their arguments and return value. So we have our return value, so that's like C#. And you got your int. It's so funny, man. Types on the left, types on the right. Return types on the left, return types on the right. Every language decides a different. Ooh, ternary operations work in C, by the way. Oh, nice. Although, hold on, you said tertiary. I don't think I know what that is. Tertiary? Tertiary operator? I know what ternary is, but I don't know what tertiary. Tertiary operator in C? No, it's the I just can't spell it. Oh, you mean this. You mean ternary. Yeah, ternary. Okay, I know what that is. I like ternaries. That's the one thing I miss in Go, and it's one thing I miss in Rust too. And I don't think Python has it either, does it? Python doesn't have a ternary operator either. They just have that weird one-liner if-else. Thing is, I use Vim. Don't use VS Code 4 weeks a year. I guess I have used it 4 weeks this year. Never mind. I definitely use VS Code. I probably use it once a day. Yeah, once a day. There are certain things I just like Markdown. I like Markdown. I don't have a great way to preview Markdown in NeoVim. I haven't explored plugins or whatnot, so I still use it a lot for that. Sometimes it's more convenient to run the debugger in VS Code than in my NeoVim setup. I mean, I can do it in my NeoVim setup, but sometimes it's more convenient. What else do I use VS Code for? Some days it just feels like a VS Code day, you know? I've been writing C for a while. Oh, nice. Well, you blow right through this, Mason. This is the first C I've ever written, so you're ahead of the game. Let's see. Write a max snake-lang memory function in the space provided. It accepts 2 arguments. Return an integer representing the total memory available for the snake-lang interpreter. Let's see. So our return type is going to be int. And we're going to call this max snake-lang memory. Takes a max threads memory per thread. We get some. Then we return max threads times memory per thread. Don't forget the semi. Easy enough. Tertiary, it means third. Tertiary equals I think it does not equal ternary, right? Wouldn't tertiary school be like college? Hey Victor, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. See, in C, there's a special type for function signatures, void. There are 2 primary ways you'll use void: to explicitly state that a function takes no arguments. Oh, interesting. It's important to know that void in C is not like none in Python. It's not a value that can be assigned to a variable. It's just a way to say that a function doesn't return anything or doesn't take any arguments. I'm familiar with void, which is not valid. Let's see, this would be valid, that would be valid, this would be this one. You skipped school today? Well, I guess that's one choice. Yeah, I mean, skipping school is a double-edged. I don't know. I always felt like skipping school was, I don't know. I'm just one of those people. I never like to fall behind. You know, when things pile up, it kind of overwhelms me. So the idea of skipping class, it was just like, I'm gonna have to make stuff up, or I'm gonna have to catch up on stuff. Even at work, like I've gotten to this point now, even in my career, where even if I'm on PTO, I still read my emails and my Slack and stuff. Because when I come back from work on vacation, I don't want to spend a whole day reading emails and getting caught up on context. It's just not worth it. And it's not a lot of headache to just stay up on messages. Like, spend an hour or 30 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever at the beginning of the day and 20 minutes at the end of the day. Probably not even that. Yeah. I just don't. Early in my career, when I first got my corporate job, there were times where I would take in some longer vacations and didn't look at email or Slack, and just it was such a pain to try to come back and dig myself out. And then the pain point is to try to figure out like what messages and things still matter and what ones don't matter anymore. I don't know. So I try to stick up with it. I try to keep up with everything each day. I have to study at home. School doesn't teach shit anyway. Only two classes are good. That's computer science and mathematics. Books and materials are all common. We don't depend on lectures. Interesting. Interesting. Well, if you can get away with not going to school and still pass, man, more power to you. When I was personal training, I had a client. Her name was Oxel. Oxel was how you pronounce her name. She was from Belgium, and she was working for a company in Oklahoma that produced solar panels. And she was a client for a pretty long time. We got to know each other pretty well, and she told me that in Belgium, university was basically like, and I don't know if this is still true or if was everybody's experience, but the way she described it to me was, you basically have a midterm exam and you have a final exam, but your professors don't really give a shit what you do up until the midterm or up until the final. So she basically told me, she's like, if you're I guess a good student or whatever, you could theoretically never go to class, turn up for the midterm and exam, and perform well and get credit. Which, one, I wouldn't be able to do that, but two, I always thought, man, that'd be pretty baller if you were a brainiac. Hello, Rockin' Brain. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Students in India depend on outside coaching schools are only like to get into an education. Oh, interesting. So your like publicly provided education requires supplementation? That's crazy. Either the public school is not very good or it's just uber competitive. I don't know which one, but that kind of sucks. My runner ups are VS Code, Image, or Bitword and Path. Image would be cool. Image would be a cool one to talk about in your essay because it is built by a company called, was it Futo? Yeah, Futo. And it would be cool to talk about that software and to talk about this company and kind of what they're trying to do in the tech ecosystem. I think that would be cool to do, Kale. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's see, up to this point, we've been checking the standard output of your code against our expected output. Now that you're familiar with functions, most of the lessons will be graded using unit test. Love it. Big unit test fan. Big unit test guy right here. Government school is shit in India. Most middle class and upper class students go to private school. Huh, I had no idea. I am not very familiar with India. I mean, honestly, if it has much to do with anything beyond the United States, I don't have much idea about it. It was more common for my parents' generation to go to government school. Interesting. Same for you, Kale? Very interesting. I don't think that's the same in the United States. I think the vast majority of people attend public schools here. The run and submit is for debugging, or the run is button is for debugging. The submit button mimics the idea of publishing your code. You should be debugging your code using the run button. You should be adding printf statements to your code to make sure it's doing what you think it's doing at different points in the code. You will never lose XP or be penalized for using the run button. However, there are consequences for submitting broken code, just like there are career consequences for pushing broken code to your users. I don't know, man. In today's world, seems like the attitude about broken code is ship it. Let's see. Take a look at main.c. You'll notice it's read only. You can't change the test. That would make it too easy to cheat. It includes exercise.h at the top. Open exercise.h. You'll see the function prototype of the function you need to write in C. Interesting. Okay. C files contain the implementation. H files are header files that contain the function prototypes. Interesting. To import code from another file, you include the .h file. Exercise.c includes exercise.h. Main.c includes exercise.h. This allows main.c to call the functions implemented in exercise C. Write the getAverage function in exercise C based on the function prototype expected in exercise H. Okay. So let's just go ahead and copy that guy. Oh, can we not copy that? Float, getAverage, x, y, and z. Float, getAverage, int x, int y, int z. Return. I don't even know if you can do that, so I'm not going to do that. X plus, let's do total, int total. I tell you what, they didn't pick a very good language, interpreted language for having to then write C code, because there's so much syntax that doesn't exist in Python that is going to exist in C. Return total divided by 3. And I don't even know if that's how you do division. I'm guessing that's how you do division. Oh, whoops. Missed semicolon. Let's see. Assertion failed. Result equals 11. Divide by 3. Average of 335 is 3 point... Oh, it's a float. Okay, so do I need to do like that? Yeah, I don't know if that would have been apparent to people. Does it talk about that in the tips? If either number is a float, they do. They help people with the tips. Yeah, I don't know if normal people would have known that's what you're supposed to do to fix that. But I guess they're assuming you're taking this course after you've had Python, so you should have a little bit of programming intuition. You can return x plus y plus... Oh, so you can use parentheses. Okay, cool. I didn't know if that was something you could do. I was playing it safe. Oh, because I changed my code. Cool. See you, Victor. Have a good day. See, all the same operators you expect exist in C. If you're coming from Python, These are all the same, okay. In addition, there are also the increment and decrement operators. Fantastic. These increment and decrement operators can be used in two forms, postfix and prefix. Postfix, the value of x is used in the expression first, and then x is incremented or decremented. For example, b is assigned 5, then a becomes 6. Prefix or is x is incremented or decremented first, then the new value of x. So a becomes 6, then b is assigned 6. I generally avoid prefix operators. If I want to increment a variable but keep the original value, I do that in 2 steps. Postfix is more common, especially in loops, which we'll get to. Yeah, I don't think I've ever really written a prefix like this. Yeah, I think I've always used postfix. Complete the snake score function in exercise C. Snakeling is unique in that its toolchain gives developers a project score that's dependent on how maintainable and high quality their code base is. The larger the score, the harder it is to work in the project. The score is calculated as follows. Multiply the number of files by the number of commits to get the size factor. Add the size factor to the number of contributors to get the complexity factor. Multiply the complexity factor by the average bug criticality, a number between 0 and 1, to get the final score. Okay. Also, what is this signature? This is ugly. Let me fix that. And this should go on a new line. I don't know if that's proper C styling, but that's how I like my functions to look like. You're mixing up the time. I'm not mixing up the time. First off, thanks for being a member, man. And second off, I would have streamed this morning, but I wasn't able to. Then the day got away from me, as it tends to happen at times. And so now I'm trying to squeeze this in at the end of the day. Good evening, selection phase. Good to see you. It's C. Is C? It's different. Can't do C sharp. So this doesn't work. Can't do it like this. Actually, if I was in C sharp, I would do it like this. So just return 0. I just want to test it, see if it works. Okay, so that runs. Okay, so you can write your functions that way. Okay, multiply the number of files by the number of commits. So let's do int size factor equals number of files times the num of commits. Add the size factor to the number of contributors to get the complexity factor. So let's do complexity factor equals size factor. Actually, let's do num contributors plus, what was it? Size factor. And then we return complexity factor times the average bug criticality. Submit. Success. Ooh, Las Vegas, eh? Have fun. I've never been. The company I work for, we're hosting our user conference in Vegas this year, and I've been kind of sitting with fingers crossed that I get invited to go. I've gotten to go the last couple of years, so it'd be cool if I get to go this year. Although, given the fact that it's in Vegas, I'm guessing a lot of people want to go, and I might not make the short list, I guess. Okay, that seems all pretty standard. Let's see, take a look at exercise H. Write the implementation for the function prototype found there back in exercise C. It should calculate whether the given temperature is too cold or too hot. Char star get temperature status int temp. Char star get temperature status int temp. Okay, so we'll do if temp is less than hold on, let me think about this. So the default case is return just right. And then the order here matters, I think. So if it's greater than 70, or if it's great, let's do if temp is greater than 90, return too hot. So if it's anything below that, we should fall through, which then will hit our second logic, which is if temp is less than 70, return too cold. Cool. You're going to Las Vegas for work as an engineer for Chevron. Nice. Very cool. Man, Chevron's a big company. Very, very big company. C uses short circuit evaluation with logical operators. This means with AND, if the first condition is false, the second isn't even checked. With OR, if the first condition is true, the second isn't checked. That makes sense. Operator precedence. Logical NOT has higher precedence than AND, which has higher precedence than OR. When in doubt, use parentheses to make your intent crystal clear. That makes sense. Let's see. User can access private registry if any of these conditions are met. They have is premium set to 1. They have both reputation greater than or equal to 100 and has 2FA set to true. Set to 1, sorry, set to 1. In C, we use 1 for true, 0 for false when returning Boolean-like values from functions that return int. I really wish I could just, can I copy this in my browser? Let's see. There we go. Fantastic. So we could really just do return. So is, if any of these, so this is going to be an OR, so is premium. Oh, interesting. I think I could actually do this. I could actually do return is premium. Right? Because we're just returning an int. So if 1 is true, they can, you know what I mean? So we could do is premium or reputation. Well, I guess I don't really know what is premium is set to because it is an integer. So theoretically, it could be set to some random. It could be set to 5. We're going to have to use an if statement. So we could do if. Okay, so default's going to be 0. And honestly, I'm just going to say this. Honestly, if it was me, I would just write this dumb. I would write this in a dumb way, or what people would say is a dumb way. I would just say if is premium. I know that's not the point of this lesson, but I would say is premium equals 1, return 1. And then I would just say if reputation is greater than or equal to 100 and has 2FA equals 1. Return 1. I would just do this. Oh, oops. Semicolons. They keep getting me. Damn, Python ruined me. I know what they want me to do, though, is they want me to do this. They want me to do that. But like this is so much in my opinion, this is so much more difficult to read and reason about than if they were just two separate if statements. But that's just me. Do we submit? Oh, we didn't submit it. Success. Any number above 1 is true? Well, I guess, but that's not what their logic said. 5 would be true? I guess it would be. I don't know. We don't know what the caller's doing, right? Like, what if the caller is actually checking for the presence of 0 or 1? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but without like a definitive contract. Do they not have bool in C? Does C not have bool? This doesn't have a Boolean type, huh? Interesting. Huh. That's pretty. I don't. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So it's just done by convention, huh? That's pretty interesting. C doesn't have bool. My mind is kind of broken right now. That's crazy. Hey, what's up, Cyberlanka? Are we going sleepless tonight? No, we'll sleep. We'll sleep. I'll probably stream for another half hour, an hour or so. What's up, Nate? Nate Codes, how are you, man? Good to see you. C99 has bool. Does it really? What is C99? Is that a specific version of C? My recommendation: don't use them. I don't know. I kind of like a good ternary. I like ternary for variable assignments. I've definitely written nested ternaries before, so I've broken all the rules. What's the result of 1 equals 0? Question T, F. That would be F. Type sizes. Okay, so this is kind of the interesting part for me when it comes to this language, because thinking about the size of data in my program is not something I typically have thought about as a developer when building things. You know, like when I'm writing C#, it's like, hey, allocate, 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 allocate. You know, who cares? That's the garbage collector's job to figure it out. What? The user only has 4 gigabytes of RAM? I don't know. Buy more RAM. Mason, I do think of size in C#. You're a better programmer than me. I just don't really think about that stuff. I mean, I think about like common ones, like you know, like string allocations in a hot loop. That's something I usually think about, and I'll usually remember to use a string builder. But yeah, but other than that, I'm trying to think of other cases where I really think about that. Yeah, other than that, I don't really. Yeah, I don't really think about data. I think about types, but I don't really think too much about what each size. Like even like unsigned versus signed integer. Like I just always use whatever the default is. You know. Did you know you can reserve space in a string builder? I did not know that. Did not know that. And I haven't used span much in my career writing C#. That's not a which is it span's relatively new, right? To C#, like that hasn't been around forever, right? Yeah, that was introduced in C#7. So that's pretty recent. So it was introduced in .NET 7 is when we got span T. But I haven't used it much. I don't. But the thing is, like, I don't write a lot of high performance code, so you know what I mean. I'm building like CLIs and web apps and stuff, APIs. Y'all must be doing much more intense things than I do, building databases or something. The size of data type is the same on every computer. False. You made a router? What's a router? What's that? Peter Scott, how many times do you do your wife per week? It's an interesting question to ask somebody on the internet. The thing that you get in the internet. Oh, okay. I was like, what? In what context? I guess router. I was thinking in my mind when I heard you say router, I was thinking of like you built some piece of code that allows you to do routing, like in a web app. But you're actually building like hardware. Damn, nice. Yeah, that's way, way, way more low level than anything I've ever built. So you follow the same pattern of the first print statement so that main also prints the size of each of the following types in order. Okay. So we're going to print bool. Oh, I wonder, can you do Vim stuff in here? Let's see if I can. Can you record a macro, maybe? Probably could. But we can definitely do some find and replace, can't we? Let's see, %s bool, and then we can do int found two patterns. Huh. Try again. S int replace float G. There we go, that worked. Oh no, it didn't because it replaced printf. Okay, so we got to be more specific with our regex. Let's see, let's do it again. Let's see, search float. Actually, we're looking for the exact word, so we're looking for start to end. Starts with, hold on. Why doesn't that match anything? Regex match float exact. regex match exact word. Oh, gotta do the boundary. So we do S, B, float B, then we replace that with double, and do that globally. There we go. Then we'll do the same thing again. Let's see, D, B, double, B, and replace that with size T. Take a look at the results before moving on. Notice that char and blue will only take up 1 byte, while the other types take up more space. Okay, I noticed it. I noticed it. Oh, whoops. I gotta submit my code. Good morning, Amba. Good to see you. A router in C#, you mean the embedded side? Yeah, that's what he was talking about. He was talking about an actual like hardware router. What layer is a router? Router is what layer? Layer 3. You can do this string builder equals new string builder 256. Interesting. So what happens when you reach that? What happens to the string builder once you reach 256? Does it blow up? See, print the numbers prototyped. Implement the print numbers prototyped in exercise.h that takes a starting number and an ending number and prints all the numbers in that range, inclusive. Okay, so we do int, no, sorry. Gone. That's why Rust there. Rust is fun. I've been writing a lot of Rust the last couple days. It goes to 512. Interesting. So it just doubles, keeps doubling? It automatically expands. That's pretty cool. So why would you do that in the first place? Is that some sort of micro optimization, or does that help the compiler do something fancy when it lowers it? Interesting. Okay, for int start start is less than, it's equal to or less than end start plus plus, then we will print f, and we want to print a digit or an int with a new line I. Don't forget the semi. Oh, start. Less than or equal to. So what was the start? Printing from 42 to 69. Oh, start should equal start. Actually, I don't know. Is that even valid? Okay, that doesn't seem to work. So I guess let's just set I equal to start. We'll print I. We'll say while I is less than end I. 42 to 69. Submit. I just made a new Ubuntu VM that runs off NFS. That's sick. Instead of studying, you should be writing your paper, Kale. That's what you should be doing right now. Not making VMs. You should be writing your paper. Oh, we get while loops in C. The loop continues to execute as long as the condition remains true. Nice. Implement print numbers reverse, prototyped in exercise.h. It takes a starting number higher and an ending number lower, and prints all the numbers in that range from highest to lowest, inclusive. Okay. So we'll do I equals start. And we gotta type our variables. We do while I is less than or equal to end, or greater than or equal to end. We will print f %d new line #I semi. Oh no, I made an infinite loop because I didn't increment I plus plus. Damn semicolons, man, they keep getting me. Oh, went the wrong way. Decrement. Printing 20 to 4. Nice. The fancy for loop is for semi. What's that do? Is that a while loop? For represents an infinite loop. Instructs the program to execute code inside the loop body endlessly. So why would you use that over a while loop? It's like a while true loop. Just cause. It's the same as while one. Yeah. It's an infinite loop. I like do while loops. I don't see people use do while loops much, but I like them. I actually use them quite a bit to do pagination. I feel like more people should use them. I think I have some examples of using them in some code that I wrote somewhere. Maybe in here, I have some do while loops. I feel like I feel like they just don't get used enough. Don't get enough love. Yeah, see? This is like I think this is a great example of using a do while loop. Because you definitely want to make at least one request, right? I don't know. I don't see them enough. I think more people should use them. More do while loops. Do while, you say? Yes, I do while. Do while. The most common scenario you will see a do while loop used is in C macros. They let you define a block of code and execute it exactly once in a way that is safe across different compilers. Interesting. Do it, man. Go get your writing done. I hope you grab some good food too. Or you could promise yourself you'll get food after you do your writing. You could incentivize yourself. Huh. I find this statement interesting. They let you define a block of code and execute it exactly once in a way that is safe across different compilers. So that tells me that there's maybe cases where if you use other types of loops, what you get out of each compiler is different. Okay. Okay, run the code. Notice that it prints numbers 5 to 1 in descending order. However, when the starting number is less than the ending number, it doesn't print anything because the condition of the while loop is never true. Modify the print numbers reverse function to use a do while loop so that it always prints the starting number at least once, even if the condition is initially false. Okay. So I guess what we want to do is just flip this, put that down there. Huh, interesting. Very interesting. Use a while loop only to loop forever, and that means probably never. That's a good sentence. I have to remember that one. Ew, Python. Me and you share similar feelings about Python. I don't know if I have an ew feeling towards Python. I just think I have a do I really have to? That's kind of that's the kind of feeling I have towards it. It's like, is there any alternative? What's up, Goth Slayer? What a username, Goth Slayer 69. I am not an Archmage yet. I am currently a sorcerer. I'm level 62. I have 38 more levels to go before I can call myself an Archmage. Pragma once. Okay. I don't know anything about this. Let's learn. We saw .h header files are used in a previous lesson, but before we go further, let's talk about a potential issue you might run into: multiple inclusions. If the same header file gets included more than once, you can end up with some nasty errors caused by redefining things. Okay. One simple solution, and the one we'll use for the rest of this course, is hashtag pragma once, or number sign pragma once. I don't know what people refer to this as, number sign or hashtag. I say hashtag. That probably dates me in some way. Adding this line to the top of the header file tells the compiler to include the file only once, even if it's referenced multiple times across your program. Okay. Another common way to avoid multiple inclusions is with include guards, which use preprocessor directives like this. This method looks for defining a unique macro for the header file. If it's already been included, the guard prevents it from being processed again. Throughout this course, you'll see pragma once in our header files. It's quicker and less error-prone than traditional include guards, and it works well with most modern compilers. Wonder this compiler thing. So I don't know anything about the C world. So why isn't there just one C compiler? Maybe Gemini knows. I don't need to use Pro for this. Why isn't there just one C compiler? I'm guessing it's a long history. I don't know anything about PHP, Mason, so similarities to PHP just go like over my head. See, the existence of many C compilers is not a flaw in the language, but a reflection of the diverse environments where C is used. Because C is a low-level language designed to interact directly with hardware, it must adapt to the specific requirements of different platforms. Okay. C code is compiled into machine-specific instructions. A processor and a supercomputer, a smartphone chip, a tiny microcontroller, and a microwave completely different instructions. Interesting. Okay, I guess this is like a Halloween song or something. Interesting. So C# is compiled, and I know historically it is relied on shitting, but there has been a lot of work lately to improve the AOT support. Why can C# get away with just a single compiler, but target all different types of platforms? Oh, 6-7 Alaska. It's been a long time since I've seen you. I'm pretty sure the last time we saw you in a stream, we all agreed that you were some sort of bot. And going based on your message, I would guess that's the case. Yep, okay. Why native changes the narrative? You mentioned that the recent focus on native AOT, this is the exception that makes C# act more like C. When you use native AOT, you are bypassing the JIT. The toolchain takes your C# code, compiles it directly into machine code before you ever ship it to the user. Does not have to know the target architecture, much like C compiler. However, .NET ecosystem. Huh. I'll have to do more interaction on that. I wonder how, because it said the reason why we have to have a bunch of different C compilers is to optimize for all the different use cases. I don't know. I guess I probably need to understand more about hardware, the specifics of the different hardware platforms to really be able to grok all that. I'll stand by with my brethren of 1942. Oh my goodness. Used to buy a compiler from a business in the early days. That's crazy to think about, isn't it? The way computing used to be. It's wild. Oh boy, structs. Here we go. We're gonna make some data. We're gonna make some data structures. Compilers were historically gatekept because the earliest computer scientists feared that high-level automated translation would make the seasoned programmer obsolete. Oh man, that seems a little on the nose for our current times. Do you use struct in C#? I don't usually use struct in C#. I know it's a thing, and I usually use records and classes for the most part. Okay, I'm gonna let 6-7 just talk in the chat randomly. We all can just ignore him, but maybe his interactions will help get more people to the stream. You don't use C Sharp? Man, I love C Sharp. Love it. Although I've kind of I've kind of fallen in love a little bit with Rust. I'm not very good at writing Rust. I'm very slow and it's painful because I've written very little of it, but I've kind of become a little bit of a Rust boy. Yeah. Like I found this pretty cool CLI library in Rust. I think it's a fairly popular one. It's called Clap. And I've been having a lot of fun writing little CLI tools with it. Yeah. But yeah, C Sharp still, I think C Sharp is still my favorite language by far.
Structs in C are similar to classes or objects in Python or JavaScript, but they are a bit simpler. There aren't any concepts of things like inheritance or class methods or static variables, nothing like that. Instead, structs are simply a way to group multiple fields or data points, so you could sort of think of them now, and put them all into one object. Right? So they get to be moved around and stored together. This is really useful because instead of typing 35 separate variables to a function, you can put some of those variables, logically group them into a struct, and pass them around together. This is the same reason why you often would make something like a data class in Python or just a simple object in JavaScript. They are similar to objects as well in that they have a list of fields, but as I mentioned, they don't have any methods. They're only data. They have no.
I don't use pointers in C Sharp. You can use pointers in C Sharp. I never have a need for it. I basically just think of all my C Sharp types as values or reference or value types, and off to the race. Low level unsafe code in C Sharp if you want. I mean, there's even an unsafe keyword that lets you manually manipulate memory if you want to use unsafe. Like there's a RavenDB is a whole database that's written in C Sharp. So you can write some really low level performant code in C Sharp. I've never really done it or had to do it. Not RavenRBDB. Yeah, this is a database that's completely implemented, a NoSQL database that's completely implemented with C Sharp. So you can do it. It's just I've never had the need to.
Python or JavaScript is that the order that you define the fields actually matters in terms of the size and the layout of memory. When we make a struct, what we're really doing is we're telling C, I have several different pieces of data.
Mason got to know what things to add to the stack or the heap. Well, I guess in C Sharp, the way I usually just group it is most values are almost always allocated to the stack, and then reference types are almost always allocated to the heap. And if you need to control something being allocated, like a class not being allocated to the heap, then you can slap struct on it. But yeah, for the most part, it's just reference, value, off to the races, let the GC do its thing.
As sort of like a block, right? And that block can be bigger or smaller depending on how we lay out the data. Now, in other languages, you don't always have to.
I think probably for you guys probably just write code in much different context than me. I don't write code in context where like milliseconds matter, right? Or like megabytes of memory even matter, really. And I'm talking about stuff that I build, right? Like not doing stuff for like systems programming at large companies or like some sort of quant dev related, you know what I mean? That's not my world.
Need to write things where you need to really crank out the last bit of performance. Really everything in C, when we're talking about data, is just a bunch of bytes.
I do appreciate it though. I appreciate it.
Instructing the computer how to
I just don't
those bytes. C is really
do it.
A language of describing data and then what we want to do with that data. It doesn't have other ideas like encapsulation and methods and all this other stuff that sort of hides away everything that we're doing.
Let's see, so far all we've seen are the simple non-collection types in C. However, stuff like this can get really annoying. Yes, this would be very annoying. Because our distance function starts to look ridiculous. It does look ridiculous. Although I'll say what looks the most ridiculous in this function right here is the formatting. I don't understand this formatting. People do this in C# too. I don't get it. This to me this is horrible. Don't do that. We also run into a new problem. In C, we're only allowed to return a single value from a function. This doesn't work. Okay, so we need a struct. Let's see, what's our assignment? Snakelang has built-in support for graphic. Somebody needs to build this. I wonder if someone's already built this. Sneckling. Someone build this? Of course they did. Sneck programming language for tiny systems. A tiny Python-inspired language for embedded computing. Of course it exists. True, but I learned it that way, so I continued writing like that, even for simple things. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I had to optimize my personal Discord logging bot because it parses every log on the system. Huh. So what do you log? What are you logging from Discord? It needs manual blocks designed to dynamic vectors. Huh. Yeah, I wonder what what are you logging from Discord? Just anything that's going on in your Discord server? It's interesting. Oh man, I forgot to activate my XP. Oh, I still have a potion. Oh, nice. Okay. I didn't even need to do that. Count high scores. Sure, we'll accept the challenge. You're helping build a simple leaderboard for a game. Write the count high scores function in exercise.c. This function should look at the scores array, count how many scores are greater than or equal to threshold, return that count. Use a loop to go through the array and an if statement to decide whether to count each score. Okay. If length is 0, return 0. You only need to write the body of the function. Do not add a main function. I don't know how to get the length of an array. C, get length of array. Size of, I guess I do know how to get that. Size of. So let's do if size of scores to get the length of an array in C, divide the total size of the array by the size of its first element. Okay, so we have to do scores. Well, how do we detect if it's empty? Check for empty array. Okay, I guess we'll just do this. We'll just, because I don't know if this is true, but this says you cannot directly check if an array passed to a function is empty because arrays decay into pointers when passed as parameters. I don't know if that's true. Oh, I see. How many items are in the array? So I can literally just do, it would help if I read. So if length equals 0, return 0. God, I didn't know how good we had it in these other languages. I should be thinking, sleeping. You have me thinking to write some code. Gonna get nerd sniped by Kale. Okay, 4. See if I can do this from memory. I equals 0. I wonder how many people now can't write a for loop very well. Because of AI, you know? Look at the scores right. Count how many scores are greater than or equal to threshold. So if scores at I is greater than or equal to threshold, we should total plus plus. And I guess I'll set total equal to 0. And then just return total. Return total. Use of semi. Success. We passed that challenge. Yeah, you need to stop writing code and do your assignment. Dude, this bot is wild. I'm gonna time him out now because this is kind of getting a little annoying. Time down. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, hey TJ, so how do we actually make an instance of a struct? You may have noticed in previous lessons all we did was define the struct type. Unfortunately, there are a few different ways to initialize a struct. I'll give you an example of each using the struct. Okay. We have a 0 initializer that sets all the fields to 0 values. Positional initializer or designated initializer. Yeah, I like this too. Remember, it's .name, not name. If this trips you up, just remember it's .name and not name because that's how you access the field. Accessing fields. Accessing a field in the struct is using the operator. There's another way to do this with pointers that we'll get to later. Complete the new chord function, accepts 3 integers and returns a coordinate. Use the designated initializer syntax because I said so. Okay, so we'll do, can you just do it like this? Can I just return struct coordinate? Do I have to assign it, I wonder? Oh no, I'm curious. I'm just going to try it. Dot x equals x. Dot y equals y. Dot z equals z. You cannot do that. Okay, so can you do C? Cannot do that. Interesting. Oh, it should be this. Okay, so you can't, huh? Okay. Okay, what about, can you just remove, that's not, I'm curious. in C, can you just return a struct? Create point. So you have to do this. Coordinate. This creates and returns the struct in one line. Okay, so is the spacing an issue? Okay, explain to me why this don't work. Why no work? Oops, I didn't copy it. Sorry, I was not reading chat. Oh no, 6-7 Alaska's back. I guess I didn't time him out for long enough. How do I ban user? There we go. See you 6-7 Alaska. Have a nice day. Same type def I sent you. Oh, sorry. Type def struct int x int y thick. Huh. Okay. Remove the comma after the final value. Does that actually work? I don't think. There we go. Yeah, I don't think it cares about the trailing comma. I gotta see my code. Scaling coordinate. Remember how we cannot return multiple values from a function in C? We can't do this. However, we can accomplish effectively the same thing by returning a struct. Open coord.h and add a declaration for the scale coordinate function as defined in coord.c. Complete the scale coordinate function in coord.c. It should return a new coordinate where each field is scaled up by the factor. Okay, so we can do return struct coordinate, and then we do .x equals x times factor. Use of undeclared. Oh, whoopsies. Call to undeclared function scale coordinate. ISO C99 and later do not support implicit function declarations. What? What have I done? Okay. Let's use some AI here. Help me understand what I fucked up. Got this error. Here's my code. I guess I could technically use this, couldn't I? I could technically use that function. Crap. No, sorry. I didn't. Ah. Open. Oh, I guess I'm not in the right place. Open core.h. Add a declaration for scale coordinate as defined. Then. Oh, that's my fault. Whoopsies. I did not read the. Did not read the assignment. There we go. See, if you just read the instructions, life will be better. Hello, Onace. Good to see you. How much longer do I have in this? Oh man, I've got a long ways to go. I'm gonna go to the end of this chapter, and then I'm gonna break. Let's see, by now you're probably tired of typing struct coordinate over and over again, and you're wondering, how can I make a new struct types easier to write, like int? Good news, C can do this with the typedef keyword. Struct pastry, this can also be written as typedef struct pastry t. Now you can use pastry t whenever you would have you struct pastry. Interesting. In this case, you'd only be able to refer to the type as pastry t. In general, I do give the struct an actual name, but I only use the typedef type. We'll be using this convention in this course. Interesting. This is kind of an interesting, quirky thing. Use the coordinate declaration in core.h to use typedef to create a new type called coordinate t. Update the new chord and scale coordinate function declarations in core.h and their definitions in chord C to use the coordinate t type instead of struct type. Okay. So update the declaration. So this would be type def. And then down here we say coordinate t. Interesting. And then here, instead of using the name, we're using so this would be, let's see, search word boundary coordinate word boundary replace with coordinate t global. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Update the new chord function. Okay, we'll do the same thing here. But now we can just do %s word boundary coordinate word boundary coordinate t global. Incomplete result type struct coordinate t. Is that the right thing? What did I do wrong? Voltaire puppet no struct? What? Oh, this? You mean? None of that? Oh, yeah, so remove this? Am I not doing something right? Conflicting types for new chord. Previous declaration is here. Am I just missing structs? Conflicting types. Use that. You defined the structure. Use that type. Oh, I keep missing them. Sorry. There we go. So did they say that type instead of... Oh, they did say that. Use coordinate T type instead of struct coordinate. I missed that. Okay. Could have done a search and replace there too. That would have saved me some time. Alright, as we saw earlier, size of can be used to view the size of a type. For once, programmers thought of a name that was actually helpful. But this isn't just true of bulletin types like int or float. You can also use it to find out the size of structs. Very cool. Structs are stored contiguously in memory, one field after another. Okay, that's good to know. Take this struct. Assuming int is 4 bytes, the memory layout for coordinate t would look like this. Very cool. Mixed type structs. Assume char is 1 byte, int is 4 bytes, and double is 8 bytes. The memory layout for human t might look like this. Interesting. So you can almost map this directly to the layout memory. That's awesome. Very interesting. Wait, what is that padding doing? It turns out that CPUs don't like accessing data that isn't aligned. Incredible oversimplification alert, since obviously CPUs don't have feelings. So C inserts padding to maintain alignment, e.g. every 4 bytes in this example. Okay, huge caveat. These layouts can vary depending on the compiler and system architecture. Okay, interesting, but generally, I guess, generally you can think of it that way. True. Oh no, damn, because the padding. This lesson mentions padding, and that's the key. Let's walk through it. Yeah. Okay. Do I have more armor? Yeah, I have armor. I have 4 armor. There are a bunch of complicated rules and heuristics that different compilers use to determine how to lay out your structs, but to oversimplify, the fields of a struct are laid out in memory contiguously. Structs can vary in size depending on how they are laid out. C is a language that aims to give tight control over memory, so the fact that you can control the layout of your structs is a feature, not a bug. Compilers plus modern hardware plus optimizations plus skill issues means that sometimes what you think the computer is going to do isn't exactly what it actually does. So this is where people like talk about being able to actually, or like I've heard Linus Torvalds talk about actually like writing high level code, then going and actually looking at the assembly language to see what it actually ends up as. That said, C is designed to get you close to the machine and allows you to dig in and figure out what's going on if you want to for a specific compiler or architecture. As a rule of thumb, ordering your fields from largest to smallest will help the compiler minimize padding. Okay, interesting. As a rule of thumb, ordering your fields from smallest to largest will help the compiler minimize padding. You would think this would be some sort of auto sort field rule that could be implemented in like an IDE where it just automatically orders things that way for you. Rearrange the fields in snakeling var t so that the padding is optimal and the test and main C pass. All right, so we are going to do largest to smallest. So this would be char star at the top. Then we'd have char as a single byte. Does int go above that? Double goes above int. Int goes, I guess, in the same place here. Okay, which one's out of school here? Double. Oh, double goes above char star. So how big is a double? Double C byte size. Oh, double is 8 bytes. Okay. Interesting. This is very interesting. It's interesting to think about things like this when you're writing code. These aren't things that I normally think about. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. Pick it up tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be streaming in the morning though. My family's actually all asleep in the basement, so I don't know if I'll be able to get up super early and stream without waking everybody up. But I'll stream again tomorrow. I don't know what time, but I think I have to mow the grass tomorrow, so it might be later in the afternoon. If you're around and you want to hang out, please come. Anybody's welcomed. I've got this tiny little YouTube channel with this tiny little stream I do. So the more the merrier. In any event, I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening. If it's already Friday, I hope you have a good rest of your Friday. And I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Bye, Mason. Bye, Kale. Bye, Voltaire's Puppet. See you guys. Have a good day. Bye.